Tottenham 3, Burnley 0. A fantastic result. A brilliant performance from Tottenham in their opening game of the Premier League. Thomas Frank has this team set up well. Make sure that like button has been hit, people. Make sure you are subscribing. Get that bell notification button turned on as well. Spurs fans, you must be buzzing with that performance and everything else. But we're going to be talking Mohamed Kudus. Didn't we tell you here on the Football Terrace? Sorry, my desk is falling apart. Didn't we tell you here live on the Football Terrace that Mohamed Kudus was going to be a demon? A masterclass from that man today. Richarlison having a new lease of life, looking on a different level. I love the likes of Paulinia coming on late. It was a more of attacking approach today from Spurs. They pushed their line up higher. Exactly what we all expected. Certain teams, they'll sit back and be pragmatic. Other teams, they'll be the aggressor and they'll push up, just as we saw with Brentford over the years. I don't know why anybody felt that would be any different. And the big question today is, how far can this Tottenham team go? I predicted them coming 8th. I'm already starting to regret that. Good job I've got a get out of redoing my predictions at the end of this transfer window, because I thought they looked very good today in large parts. Yes, there are elements of the game. You go down, like Burnley had 14 shots on goal today, 4 on target. They had really good chances to score as well. Hannibal probably with the pick of the bunch that they didn't take. So I do still think Thomas Frank has got to get the balance right in some of these matches. And another team today may have punished Tottenham. So as good as Tottenham were, I'm not going to sit here and say they were flawless. It was the most perfect performance ever. You know, Burnley, covered more distance in the game. They ran more in the game. They were quicker throughout the course of the game. But the clinical difference in the two, the quality difference, no one in that Burnley team is at the level of a Mohamed Kudus, as an example, who was my player of the match, even though Richarlison scored 2 very good goals. And the second, very reminiscent of each other. The ball's being cut back behind him. The second was absolutely majestic. It was absolutely brilliant in every single which way. But for me, Mohamed Kudus, the standout performer this evening. But as ever, look, I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your opinions in the comments section below. I want to know what your thoughts were on today's game. It was a very, very interesting match indeed. And as Old Trafford TV here says, Thomas Frank is a good coach. Of course, he's a good coach. And everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. I saw the criticism and the sort of the disappointment from even some Tottenham fans when they got Thomas Frank. And I said it at the time, and I'll say it again, is exactly what Tottenham need. This isn't a backhanded compliment. This isn't a veiled dig. But Tottenham are who they are. They're a big club, Tottenham. They're not a tiny little club like people make out. They're a big club with a rich history. But they need a manager like this. I don't think going for Jose's and Conte's is right, because those individuals have been at the biggest clubs in the world with massive budgets, with owners that spend all the money on players, where they can attract the biggest and the best. Spurs are not that at this particular moment. Thomas Frank, I genuinely mean this. Thomas Frank is better for Tottenham than Pep Guardiola, because it's about horses for courses. It's about having the right fit for your club at the moment in time you're in. Pep Guardiola going to Man City in 2009, 2010, when they just got the Sheikh's takeover as they were building the infrastructure, would have been a disaster. A disaster. They got him when it was built and it was ready. And I think Spurs have made those mistakes. But you saw the system today from Thomas Frank, and I was really impressed with it. As I say, yes, Burnley attacked, and there's always this element. I know you can watch footage from the Championship, but it might take 2 or 3 games for teams to work out the newly promoted sides. And I think Spurs got caught out a few times and could have conceded, absolutely. But by and large, I was very, very impressed with Tottenham Hotspur tonight. I really, really was. They should put age restrictions on Kudus, on the Kudus game. Listen, he was amazing today. And as I said, West Ham is a graveyard of a football club. He was just bored there. He wasn't motivated there. The performance from him today was out of this world. You'll get the bitter people. Oh, he just spammed the ball into the box. Crosses are just spamming anyway. No, you put the ball into the danger area. It's then on the attackers. It is then on the midfielders that are box crashing late. Get onto the end of them. He put 2 brilliant balls in. And I will say, look, some Richarlison, who's had overall had a bit of a torrid time, really, as a Spurs player. I thought he was excellent against PSG midweek. I thought he was amazing today. The finishes were out of this world. But Mohamed Kudus, worth every single penny and more. I think we all already knew that. We all saw what he did at Ajax. We saw what he was like at the World Cup. We saw what he was like first 18 months at West Ham. But when West Ham kept on changing their style, they went off the boil. He got bored. I want something better than this. And he's at a much bigger and much better club now. Thomas Frank proving the haters wrong. Cough, cough, David. Cough, Tom. Listen, David and Tom know their football and they're entitled to their opinion. I don't understand it. I've never understood the Thomas Frank criticism. Man United were linked to him when we were in the process of dismissing Ten Hag, and I would not have been upset and disappointed. Yes, we were able to attract excellent players. And by the way, Spurs have signed some good players, and they're very close this evening. I don't know if you've seen the news, to signing Eze, who's as good an attacking 10 as anyone else in the Premier League has got. Like, he can hold his own against Turkey. He can hold his own against Mohamed Kudus. He can hold his own against, who's the other guy? Wirtz. I want to say hold his own. He's in and around their level. Spurs are getting an absolute fucking gem in that player. But I was so up for Thomas Frank coming to Man United. I didn't see it as bad. The problem is there's a lot of Man United fans who, I've come to this conclusion. There's a lot of Man United fans. There's a lot of fans of all the big clubs. I don't know if they're really fans of the club. I don't know if they actually believe in all of their football opinions. I think what they do is they have this, their football opinion has to match their, and I want to say this right, has to match their view of themselves. So you get a lot of men that make content. They're like, I'm a winner. I'm a success. So everything they say has to echo that. So they're never happy unless their club's got the best manager, buying the best players and winning, because my football club has to be a reflection of how I see myself, and that is as a winner. So they're not very happy when it comes to watching football. And that's fair enough. That's their way of doing things. So a lot of United fans turned their nose up at Thomas Frank because he wasn't a sexy enough name. But I think he's excellent. And I think he's proven that very early on. I know they didn't beat PSG. I didn't think any of that was down to him. Slightly rotated team today. And yeah, he did a really, really good job. Oh, I didn't see that. Fulham equalized late. Fulham equalized late in their game. What minute was that equalizer in? The 97th minute. Was that Manice? Oh, that's good. Oh, no, sorry. Wrong one. I thought I put him in. No, I didn't put him into my fantasy football team. So there we go. He wasn't in that. And Leighton Orient equalized late as well. I was keeping my eye on that in the 93rd minute. Good Orient. They deserved it in the end. I'm just checking up now with some of the results, because I went live and not all the games had finished by the time I went live. But there we go. Bringing the panel up soon, have their say. We're going to be talking Mohamed Kudus. We're going to be talking about Richarlison, and he's the regen of R9 at Tottenham Hotspur as well. And I do want to ask the panel when they come on, how far do they think? Just an instant gut reaction. No one's got to hold them to it too much. Instant gut reaction of how well Spurs could do. What I will say quickly on Burnley as well, because I want to mention Burnley, because I don't think they had a particularly bad game today, although they conceded 3 goals. They could do all right this year. And when I say do all right, they could come 17th. They could stay up. I like Scotty Parker as well. I like the way he speaks. And I hope he does well. But they had some good moments, and they had some good moments today. They had some good moments. But actually, Spurs did defend very well. And as much as people go, oh, there was openings. Yeah, most of the shots weren't very good because the players were having to stretch. Why? Because they were being forced to stretch by the Spurs defenders. And when they did sort of break the lines, Spurs recovered quite well also. And I think that's very, very important to point out. But I did want to mention Burnley, because I thought they gave a really good account of themselves today. The only thing I suppose I'd worry about if I was a Burnley fan is you can often, I know quite a few Burnley fans. I bumped into years ago. I went Turkey on holiday years ago. And small world, sitting in the pool having a beer. A couple of lads got in. It was like this jacuzzi bit that was inside the pool. And they come and sat down. They said, "You're all right." I said, "Yeah, from England." They said, "Oh, they were from a place called Bake Up, which is near Burnley." All Burnley fans. They're chatting away. They were there with their girlfriends, but the girls weren't there. One of the girls came over, and I was like, 2 of the girls came over, and I knew them. Right? No, nothing mad. I knew them both, but I didn't know how I knew them. And first girl said, I swear I know you from somewhere. And we talked. And turns out she was part of Team GB kickboxing. She was like 3 or 4 years younger than me. So when I was still fighting, she was in the lower categories. But I just remembered seeing her around. The other girl said, you weren't in Team GB. She went, no, but I know your face. Turns out I didn't know her. But it turned out randomly, this girl's big sister was my boss. And it's just the recognizing the face. So got on with those lads really well. Because I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for Burnley after meeting some really good people on holiday. And they were nothing like people expect, because Burnley's got a bad reputation. They were absolutely beautiful people. They really, really were. But I hope they do well this year. I'd like to see them sort of stay up and be in the Premier League moving forward. I'd like a few of the promoted teams to stay up this year. Chris, I mean, that is such a amazing donation, my friend. Thank you so much. It's so generous of you. He says, thanks, Terry, for the awesome post-match analysis after every big game. I always come here to hear your takes. Go Arsenal. I mean, listen, you're super chatting that on a Spurs match reaction. All I can say is thank you for that, brother. That's very, very generous of you. We've got, by the way, Kate. We've got Quest. We've got man like I ain't seen Deji all summer. I'm glad I ain't seen him after they beat us in that final. That's banned. We ain't talking about that anymore on the terrace. It's over, boys. I'm good to see my bro back. But thank you, Chris, for that donation. That's absolutely amazing. So a big thank you to you, my friend. Great game by Spurs today. Also, great return for Sunderland. A big problem for a lot of teams if they can consistently play the way they did today. Well, what was very interesting is I was keeping my eye on that game. I had it on one of my screens, but I was also like West Ham for large parts of the first half and second half. West Ham with a better team in terms of they had more shots, they had more of the ball, they were more of a threat. The physical battle, they completed more passes, more accurate passes, more passes in the opponent's half, more touches in the opponent's box by almost double, as an example. They really were the better team, barring the expectation of goals. They just weren't creating good enough chances with all of that possession. And Sunderland were very, very clinical indeed today. 3-0 win on their return to the Premier League. What a start by them. Absolutely fantastic. Watch the Sunderland game, and they are going to be tough to break down. Even the big four teams. Xhaka, for me, is still Champions League quality. Great buy. And yeah, listen, I haven't watched it yet. And that's the only thing about covering so many games like I do, is that match of the day never feels the same. But it made me emotional. Opening night match of the day for me is it's like family time. Even though all my brothers live elsewhere, my dad's far away now. I don't live with them. Was all we used to. But the one night, even when we were little kids, my dad would let us stay up to watch it. And yeah, I can't wait to tune in late. That's why I tried not to have the other games on today, just so I could kind of do that. We're going to bring the panel out for you in a few moments, Chris. I'm going to put your super chat back up again, just because it was such a wonderful donation, and I want to pay as much homage as possible. Trust Terry to come up with absurd analogies. What absurd analogy? What absurd analogy? Where was the analogy that was absurd? This is from Matt. Says, Terry, Kudus is moving me. I can't lie. What a signing. What a bargain. Yeah, look, sometimes people do this. The reason why nobody was buzzing or nobody was thinking this would be a good deal is because flavor of the month syndrome kicked in. And Mohamed Kudus suddenly wasn't the player that was on the tip of everybody's tongue, but he wasn't a bad player. Same could happen this year. Belieber right now, everyone rates him and wants him, especially Man United fans. Say he has a decent season, but Brighton's have a bad year. But there's 2 or 3 other midfielders that emerge. It'll be, they're the guys. This happens all the time. And the one issue I have in modern day football is people treat football like it's the right singer to listen to, the right pair of jeans to wear, the right style of trainers, to do the things that are fashionable. For me, football's never been about fashion, because it's been, out of everything I choose to consume in my life, it's the one true constant. Hairstyles change, music changes, clothing changes, cars change, the way you speak changes, everything changes, and we all at different times in our lives adapt and change everything, or at least parts. When you get a bit older, you stop changing your clothes. You're like, I can't dress like a younger person anymore. But these things happen. These things happen. The one thing that hasn't is football. And it's the one thing I push back against is treating football like a fashion accessory, like it's music or like it's clothing, because it just is it never has been. And I don't like that element of the game. So Mohamed Kudus was always a good player. He just stopped being fashionable to support. That's all that happened. You know what I mean? He went out. Stop going to Turkey. Why? I love Turkey. Beautiful country, wonderful people, great food. Great food. Great food. Great for sorting out hairlines. I'm having a little top up soon. I have a little top up, keep the hair going. I've basically decided I'm going to keep topping it up until I go grey. And for nearly 40, not one grey hair, it's pretty good. Do you know what I mean? Even the beard, a few little bits in there, a little bit of salt and pepper in the beard. But I was always very blonde anyway, so I'm just going to say it's blonde. Right, time for my panel now, people. Terry, what's the code for FPL? I didn't set the league up. KJ did, so I don't have access to any of that. So I'm just in the league, but I can't give out any of that because I didn't set it up, my bro. Right, so who we got today? I've got to make sure I press all these buttons correctly. So I'm going to press. Right. So I can't do this all at once. There isn't just one button to stop this. I'm going to remove the scoreboard. I'm going to press this one here, and then we're going to add Deji. We're going to add Kate. We've got Jacob. We've got Mo. We've got Quest. Welcome back to the show. Congratulations, Tottenham fans, on your victory today. Lovely, Kate. I'm going to go to you first. But the first thing I want to ask you about is, where did you sign this Brazilian striker from? I've never seen this. Is it Richard before? I've never seen him before.
Neither have I. I was beginning to think, we always say he's the only Brazilian who plays like he's from Burnley, really. But he's come back. This is what a bit of confidence, a bit of fitness, and maybe an arm around his shoulder from the manager can do. I mean, I don't recognise this player. I thought he was exceptional against PSG, and he scored 2 unbelievable strikes today. And the nicest thing of all is I'm watching him link up with Kudus and thinking, wow, these two seem to already have developed some sort of understanding. And I was getting a little bit overexcited at the thought of bringing in Eze into this team as well, because going forward today, I thought we looked excellent. So Eze would be amazing right now. I'm absolutely buzzing.
I bet you are. Deji, on Richarlison, is this someone that you could see maybe benefiting now with maybe a manager that gets the best out of him, because he's never really had that yet at Tottenham?
100%. I think you see more in Richarlison this week than we've seen since he's joined Spurs. We always said that Thomas Frank is a great coach, and imagine if he's able to get the best out of the players at his disposal. You've got to remember, this is an unfinished squad. Hair cake properly, yeah? This squad is still not finished. The way we brushed aside Burnley today, it was light work, 3-0. And we didn't even start Polina, we didn't even start Bentancur. I mean, all of a sudden, the squad doesn't look as bad as it used to. So big up to Thomas Frank. And for me, Jacob and others, that's what happens when you keep the faith. Yeah, I've been telling people about Richarlison. Hold tight, give the brother some time, because there's still a player there, and we've got a glimpse. I'm not going to go too wild, but Richarlison could have a good season this season.
He certainly could. Jacob, do you echo that? Because he was a player that maybe 3 months ago, if it was announced he was leaving, he felt like a player to me, an outsider to Tottenham, that most Spurs fans would have been happy to see go. But 2 games into life under Thomas Frank, and he looks like the best version of Richarlison that we saw at Watford and Everton.
I think Richarlison's a funny situation. I don't even know if it's a story or what, but it's always been he needed mental health help, and I, for one, as a player, just have never seen. Sorry about that. I just, for one, looking at him as a fan, never had a consistent run to say, okay, I think X, Y, and Z about him. It's always been fitness, and his health has always been the issue. I think when we bought him before the World Cup, when he had a very similar goal, but from service from the other side, from I think Vinny, when he played for Brazil, he's got talent. It's just, can he do it over a consistent time period? And I think that still remains to be seen. But the main takeaway I like from it is now it's got Dominic Solanke with a little bit of a fire under him, because you got to imagine he watched that second goal and he's happy, but he's also a little bit like, uh-oh, I need to go do something. And it was kind of funny because there was a moment there when Dominic did come on where he had his back to goal. There was space. He could have tried a Richarlison-esque finish, and he decided to, I think, pass it at that time. So for me, it's good, but I'm not going to get overhyped about it. You know, it's like that uncle that comes around once every couple of years. It's like, cool, I appreciate that, but I'm not going to say like we're family like that. You know what I mean? So if he could do this over a 5 to 7 game stretch, then I'll start, I think, maybe talking a little bit nicer. But fantastic start to get a brace. I think Brennan Johnson looked like no one wanted to pass him the ball. And he said, all right, I'll go ahead and do it myself. And he went and scored a goal. And it was a cheeky little finish. So it was a confident finish. And another player, like the same question that you asked, if he was rumored to be going away, I think majority of Spurs fans would have been just fine with that. And, you know, for both them players to be the ones who scored today, for me, my biggest takeaway is Mohamed Kudus is just different. It's just not what we've had for years at the winger position. I think in football in general, you get a guy like Savinho paired with Kudus, we're really bringing sexy football back at that point. And people are going to have to really start talking to us nice. So everyone's talking about Ezzy. I'd rather get me a Savinho and we just, mix and match whatever's going on there at the 10. If we have to choose, a big club should get 2 though.
But the story is, it is both. The story is that they are not, they are completely separate deals from one another. And look, I think from a Tottenham perspective, that just gives you depth. You'll need the depth because it's 2 serious games per week of the highest level. It's essentially like 2 Premier League games every week. So that rotation is going to be key. I'm going to go to the rivals for a minute here and just sort of keep it a little bit of Richarlison. I want to merge a little bit into the Kudus talk as well, because Richarlison looked excellent. But Mo, how good a debut performance was that today? A debut Premier League performance from Mohamed Kudus.
10 out of 10. There is something something today that people didn't notice about Mohamed Kudus. With all due respect to West Ham, Dan Lawless, I'm not sure if you're watching this. There is a difference between you play for Spurs with someone under Thomas Frank, with Romero, Van de Ven, Pedro Porro, and when you play for West Ham. What I've seen today from Kudus is kind of similar to when you see like a player that had an aura at a team that thought he's the best player at that team, join a team and be a little bit humble. Like the way he played today, he wasn't trying things over the top. He wasn't trying to be the star of the show. He was just a servant of Spurs today. He didn't try everything on his own. And that is credit to Thomas Frank and the rest of the team and the captain, Cuti Romero, who was like, when you watch Kudus play for West Ham last season and the season before, he's getting the ball and he was like, I'm going to do everything on my own and no one can talk to me. But today, he looked like he's part of the team. He's like, he's humble. He is going back to defend. He's trying to assist his teammates. He's trying to pass the ball the first player he sees. And he just stuck to the plan. That is something that I got to get credit to Thomas Frank and Mohamed Kudus himself, because that is not easy. Because everyone thought, by the way, and that is something that for people to learn, that Mohamed Kudus might not work at a big team because of the way he plays. You know, the people that have this thing that I'm not going to pass and all this stuff. But no, he looks like a team player today. He looks like someone who's ready to serve Tottenham Hotspur. And this is the first thing I noticed today. Second thing about him is that how didn't the big teams, and I'm sorry, the bigger teams, go for Mohamed Kudus? Like, how did he get away from the Liverpool? He only wanted
Tottenham. He told you. He said, I only wanted Tottenham.
How did he get away? Like Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. How did he get away from them?
He told you.
He's so talented, bro.
Already.
Like, it's
he told you already.
Unbelievable. Hats off to Spurs for getting that deal quickly over the line, to Daniel Levy and the rest of the Spurs. But listen, all I have to say that are they dangerous, Spurs, that much? That can they get like top 4?
We're going to come to that. Mo, that's a subject later in the show. We'll come to that in a minute. We'll come to that in a minute. We'll touch on it in a minute, Dejes. One of my questions for you guys later. Quest, I saw you in the group chat and you were very much like Kudus. I know you're a big fan of him. I know you and your brother, being Chelsea fans, wanted him at Chelsea on that right-hand side. But you watched him today, and I think what Mo said is perfect. It was selfless but brilliant. And if you get more of today, I mean, in terms of today's game, it was just out of this world.
100% out of this world. And listen, I think Mo hit the nail on the head, right? Sometimes as a player, what happens is you're playing for managers, you're playing for clubs, and you're playing for fans where you're just disconnecting. Something is just not hitting in terms of the level you are at, the level you can reach, and the expectation people have of you. I actually love, someone said it in the group chat earlier, I think West Ham have become a little bit entitled with Kudus, not understanding what he was bringing in terms of the seasoning, right, that he was bringing to the London Stadium every week. So I'm watching him in the game today, and I'm thinking, hold on, I just want to check if this is the real Kudus. Of course, he does the Neymar touch, but it's the goal. He's on the right hand side, yeah, and he's standing his man up. He doesn't even do a little jinky. He just cuts the ball softly with his left foot and then whips it across the box, feeds it straight to the striker and goal. I'm watching the goal, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Had we have not got Esteval Willian, yeah, I would be crying. I would actually be crying because he is a big miss for so many top six sides. Like he's given, like, who was it at West Ham a number of years ago? I want to say Depay. That's not his name. It's definitely not Depay, but I know you're thinking of. He scored the worldie free kick.
Payet, yeah.
That's a man that had super seasoning. You understand? And that's what Kudus brings. So I'm looking at this Spurs team now with Kudus in it, and I'm looking, like Mo said, at the humility that he's carrying, where he's working for the squad, he's working for the team. And actually, for me, I'm going, yeah, but this is the Kudus I first saw at West Ham. So I don't know really what changed. But if I was Spurs, I would glaze him as much as you can. Get the barbecue glaze out and all over, bro. Because this guy is going to elevate the team to that level where they can go, all right, we can push for top six consistently every year if you build around the squad you've got now. I think Tottenham look very, very dangerous, especially with Kudus in it.
Can I just ask a quick question on Kudus quickly?
Yeah.
So I put a statement out on Twitter. A lot of fans were kind of rattled by that statement. But how good could Kudus be in terms of wingers on the right hand side?
You tell us, define us first. What do you think? Do you think he can be the best?
Bro,
don't be humble. You're not a humble guy. Don't be humble.
I'll be real with you, and I think Kate would agree, Jacob would agree. I think pretty much in every game he's played since he's arrived, he's probably been man of the match, in my opinion. But I think Kudus will rival Saka this season in terms of output. Provided
at least you still think that Saka's better. Like, well, thank you.
I think he's right. I'm very polite, but I would say, yeah, I think he rivals Saka. You know what I mean?
I think he definitely rivals Saka in assists. I don't know about goals. And the only reason I'm saying about goals is because I think I could sort of see when he's playing on the right, he's thinking far more about linking up and being creative with the people around him rather than trying to get in positions to get shots off. So I actually think if you'd find him in the middle, you could see him get more goals. But for me right now, I definitely think like going up against the wingers in the league in terms of assists, he's definitely going to give that to
He's going to get 10 goals at least.
Well, I hope so.
He only got 3 assists, I think, in the whole of last season's Premier League. Okay, and he's got 2 again already. Look, when it comes down to who is he better than, it really is going to depend, boys, and Kate, of course, on what people's definition of better is, because people will move the goalposts and they'll do but he doesn't move me. This guy's technique's better. This guy's better on the eye test. What I would say about Mohamed Kudus is I think he's very good on the eye test as well. I think he will prove himself this season where I've always believed him to be. That is one of the best wingers in the league. Now, some will say better than Saka. Some will say better than this guy, better than that guy. And that's another debate for another day. And maybe we can do that towards the end of the season. But I think he's going to get a lot of goals. I think he's going to get a lot of assists. I don't think Thomas Frank is the kind of manager that will allow him to maybe, I wouldn't say down tools so much at West Ham. I think West Ham just down tools. You know, I think West Ham just all they sort of came down together. Thomas Frank gets a hell of a lot out of his players. I think what Mo said is right. There are no stars, but I think Mohamed Kudus will prove himself to be one of the best wingers in the Premier League. And he got 8 out GA last year. That's why some West Ham fans were like, we're not worried to see him go. He'll get double that this year. He'll get double that minimum. Double that minimum.
I love the quote from West Ham fans. He's like our 4th best player. We don't even want him. He's not even that good. Look at his GA. But that's something you said there is it's for me, it's never 100% about just numbers or GA. There's the eye test, I think, is 100% valid. And for me, even last year in a poor output season numbers wise, he was still pleasing to watch. Like, I've been a fan of Kudus for years. When we signed Brennan Johnson at 55 million, then West Ham signed him for, I think, just over 40. To me, that was really hard to take. And, you know, I just feel as though when a player like Kudus comes into the club and he says, I wanted to play for a guy like Thomas Frank, that's when I completely changed my whole opinion on Thomas Frank, to be completely honest. I used to not call him by his government. I used to call him Tommy, Trash Can Tommy, or Trailer Park Tom Tom. And I had a fun list of nicknames I was running through. But when Kudus came in and verbatim after he said, obviously, I binned off Chelsea and I only wanted Tottenham, after he did that little bit, I love that. He then went on to say that Thomas Frank was a large reason why he wanted to come here, because he saw how he improved players in the forward line specifically, and he wants a piece of that action. Now, when a guy I've admired for years says something like that, then I'm like, I'll throw my opinion out the window, because I'm not going to hold it to any level in which a professional athlete, let alone one that I've admired, like, to rate Thomas Frank. Clearly, I have to also, because or else I feel like a hypocrite.
You're not the only one. Yeah, Hussam was slot out when Slot was hired. It's okay. It happens all the time.
It certainly happens. Now,
I wasn't Frank out, for the record, Mo. So I don't want to. A bunch of people are saying, like, I see Staffy crying in every chat I'm in, talking about apologize to Tom for what? He doesn't even know I exist. So
Jacob, you've got to remember. That's all Staffy's done all summer is shout at bigger YouTubers than himself. That's all Staffy has been going around the whole summer. You know, like a little Yorkshire Terrier, those little yappy dogs. Barking at Rottweilers, barking at pit bulls. I saw this great meme the other day, right? And it reminded me of Staffy. I'm going to find it and put it on my screen, right? Where has it gone? Because I saved it. It reminded me of Staffy. This is it here, right? And it says, too much attention makes a donkey think that he's a lion. And I'm like, that's Staffy. Too much. I mean, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Too much attention makes a donkey think he's not a lion like me and you, Jacob. He's not like you, Deji. He's not like you, Mo Quest. Okay, he's just, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Eeyore. That's he is. That's all he is. Eeyore, bruv. Man like Eeyore over there. Look, I wanted to ask, what was it, Kate, today about your new system? What was it about the way Thomas Frank's got you setting up that enabled that balanced performance, that top performance from you today?
I think that's exactly what it was. It was balanced. Look, I think our defence looks 1,000 times stronger. I think Spence looks a completely different player. I'm so glad he's just signed a new contract till 2029 because I think he looks brilliant. The way that Porro and Spence both run down the wings. I mean, I was a bit nervous when I saw the team come out because we had Sarr, Bergvall and Gray in midfield, and I thought it looked a little bit weak because we didn't have Polina, we didn't have Bentancur, but Jim said to me, look, he's got to rotate, he's got to try these things, see if they work. And although we did have a couple of times where he was a little bit under the cosh, I thought we just looked really balanced from the front to the back. And I'm not going to go too mad because it was only Burnley, although I don't want to disrespect them because I don't think they were dreadful. But I just thought we looked like a proper coached football team for the first time in a long time. And I love Ange for what he won us, but this is the difference. We just looked like a proper team. And someone's just said in the chat, the pigeon would never do anything against the big teams. Richarlison was excellent against PSG as well, you know. And if Frank manages to unlock Richarlison's ability, which we all know he has got ability there, his main two problems are consistency and staying fit. And if he can keep him fit and keep this form up, we've got a real player on our hands. And as Deji said, it's something for Solanke to think about because he's going to have competition for places. So I think it's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Thomas Frank does. And the good thing is you never know who he's going to pick and what system he's going to play week in, week out. So it's exciting.
Deji, from your point of view, how far do you think he can take you as a manager? Looking at the first couple of games, are you already thinking about that, or do you think that's too early to have those kind of thoughts yet?
No, I think we knew even before this game. I think the PSG game was where a lot of Spurs fans, if they're being honest and objective, we were pleasantly surprised. Kate is absolutely right. the structure. We just look more confident. We don't look like a team that's going to concede many goals. There's an improvement there. And then the issue that we need to work on is the attack. Look, I made a prediction yesterday. I think Spurs are top 5 under this manager. And I think it's confirmation in the location quest when we bring in Eze and we bring in Savinho. I look at Tottenham's front four, the quartet, and it's up there with the very best in the Prem. So look, I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham get 5th, and we're sitting on the fence there and we're being quiet about it. But it's looking good. It's looking good.
You're very humble today, don't you?
Mo, what do you think? Because you asked the question, Mo. You asked the question and sort of said, like, this Thomas Frank. You saw Thomas Frank's system today. You spoke about how. What did you? I wrote down. No one's a star of the team.
Yep.
How? Although I know we're focusing on today's game, but looking at that and extrapolating the first 2 performances, PSG and now this, how good a season do you think is lined up for Tottenham right now?
If he can continue like this and he gets the best out of players, one of the things today that I saw as well is the change of the approach. Like, it's not Ange Postecoglou. It's not one way of playing. They went long throws. They went direct, passing from the back. It's like Thomas Frank was waiting to have players from that ilk to be able to change the approach of the game depending on how the opposition. When Burnley pressed, he went long for Richarlison between the lines. When they didn't press, he was like so composed. The problem with Spurs is that still they have a lot of injury, like big injury record. Like, for example, Van de Ven, one of the best defenders in the league. Can I trust Van de Ven to stay healthy all season? I don't know. Is Dan so good enough? Spurs rely so much on some individuals in the game that I believe they need to stay healthy. If the players stay healthy, I believe that I don't think they can break into the top 4, but I think they can get from 5th to 7th European places.
Mo, just to correct you slightly a little bit, Ainge did play a few different ways, and he won a European Cup while doing.
Well, Ainge is not your manager. You don't have to defend him. It's fine.
Well, you brought him up. I wasn't defending him. I was correcting you. Correcting is not defending. Let's not draw that line there.
Postecoglou, for 95% of his time at Spurs, played one way, even in winning and losing, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Him changing 5% of the time in the league, changing 5% of the time, Jacob.
I was just correcting you. We don't have to have a whole discussion about an ex-manager because, again, that's not the point. My point is, this is also like the first game under Frank where we had majority of the ball and we dominated the ball. This was a different style than I've seen in the entirety of the preseason under Frank. So, yes, there is a fluidity there, and that's what we appointed him for, right? That's what we were all everybody was telling me was he's going to adapt, he's going to do this. And what I saw versus PSG in a loss gave me enough hope coming into this season that I was actually a lot more excited after that match to PSG. And what I saw today even makes me more excited. But again, it's like with Richarlison. I see some good things. Let me see it over a little bit longer of a time span, and then I'll really let the wagons fall or the wheels fall off the wagon.
The reason why I didn't mention Richarlison today at all, I don't like Richarlison. I think he's one of the worst strikers I've ever seen in the Premier League until this moment. Him scoring
goal of the season as we stand.
Probably yes, which is I've seen a lot of other players exactly. But because I know you have Solanke fire in his belly, I know that even if Richarlison doesn't perform, you'll have another striker to step in. And if you get Eze and you get Savinho, Kudus can play up top. Like, there are many options.
Yeah.
If Richarlison doesn't perform.
It's also been reported that as an alternative, in case one of those 2 deals don't go through, Morgan Rogers is also shortlisted by Spurs as well. Which can also be. Do you know what I love about it though? And I don't know what you think about this quest, because obviously you and I being rivals of Tottenham, I know people like to pretend that. I always love those Arsenal fans who. There's certain Arsenal fans, I'm not going to name them, that for years have said Spurs are not our rival because they don't win anything, but cried their eyes out when they won a European trophy. It never made any sense. Well, how can you cry when a rival's winning? Anyway, as rivals of Tottenham, from a top 6 perspective, and you're a Chelsea fan, so they're a legitimate historical rival. There was that graphic that Sky put out a few weeks ago of all of the debate, the best attack in the league, and you had United, Arsenal, City, etc. There was 5 teams on that, and then it was someone else. Do you think with the Ezes and Savinhos being added with the Kuduses, Spurs are surely in that conversation of having one of the best attacks in the league if they land these signings?
With Eze, yes. Savinho, I'm not sure. Because watching Spurs play but I can see from the way they build up and then arrive at the box, they need somebody else who's going to come through the center of the pitch and either slap it bottom bins, top bins, whatever, or can make another decisive pass. I felt like I saw on too many occasions today the ball arrive on the wing, a lot of the time, to be honest, on Porro's side, and he'd almost like hesitate or just try and whip it straight away. And it's like, Richarlison's not a header of the ball. He's not really like a big aerial presence. So who's that going into? And Solanke isn't like a big battler in the box with defenders either. So for me, if I see them get Eze, then I know, yes, when they're on that counter, Bergvall bringing it out or Sarr bringing it out or whatever. And I don't know who he's sacrificing that midfield. It might have to be, what's his name? I want to say he's an Argentinian bloke. But if you get Eze, yeah, I think you have another dynamic approach to creating goal-scoring opportunities when you're coming forward. That's the key signing. And Rodgers too. If you get Rodgers, we've seen him do it at Villa, where he can pick it up, run it 30, 40 yards to the box, create an opportunity or score. Those two signings, yes. Savinho, I'm not convinced. Because I don't think he adds anything on top of what Kudus is going to do now. And I know people laughed at me weeks and weeks ago.
Savinho's coming in on the left wing, bro. Yeah.
You said that again?
Playing on the left wing, though, Savinho.
Who, Savinho?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to do better for me than Brennan Johnson does now. And I know people laughed at me for saying that he was a good player, but for me, I just see Johnson being effective. He sticks to what he does. He runs in behind. It's a little coy finish into the bottom corner. Done. So I don't know how... I just don't believe Savinho is going to be an upgrade on any wingers you have now. That's me personally. Are they one of the best attacks in the league? They could be, but as Mo said, it's about consistency. Because I also saw today that they fluffed their lines a couple of times and then Burnley were in behind. So if you're not taking those chances and being clinical, it's gonna come back to haunt you. And that's just what I will say, because I think
this changes if Palhinha plays. I think what you saw today, if Palhinha plays today, they don't concede these chances because all the passes were through the middle and there was no DM to block these channels or block these passes. I don't know why Thomas Frank didn't play Palhinha. Maybe he's not match fit yet because he played the PSG game. So maybe he thought that Burnley is too easy for him to risk Palhinha. He's waiting for next week, because I don't see Archie Gray or Bergvall being a DM. Like, they're not. Both of them are not DM. They're both number 8.
Yeah. And Kate said it. They're not good enough defensive cover. It's not good enough.
No, they're not. They're not DMs.
To the point that he was making earlier about Brennan Johnson as a winger, it's hard to argue against the numbers. But for me, like personally, as a winger, I don't enjoy watching him play. However, when he's just putting those chances away, it's really hard to say I didn't enjoy that, because again, he wasn't even getting fed the ball. He was making runs, and Jed was just, excuse me, I'm just going to pass it this way, or anyone else. It almost seemed like no one wanted to play the ball to him, and he went and took that ball, and he went and scored. What can we really say bad about the man, other than aesthetically, I don't enjoy him as a winger?
Yeah, I think what we've got here is we've got depth. We've got strength and depth now. I think if we bring in the Eze, I think Savinho could be like Kudus, but on the left-hand side for us. And I see Brennan Johnson as an impact player. I don't think he's a player that should be starting the game. I see him as a player that when the defense is starting to tire, then you bring on Brennan and he will get goals like the goal he scored today. But if you think about it, it was pretty much non-existent, popped up with a goal. That's how he was pretty much last season. So, and I'm quite happy to work. Sometimes you need to know what you have. Arsenal have Trossard. Trossard never played well when he starts for Arsenal, but every time he came off the bench, man was always popping up with that odd goal. And I'm quite happy for Brennan to do that for Spurs this season.
I think that's so harsh, man, because I think whenever I see important games for Spurs, is Brennan Johnson, if you're going to come up with the goods, is usually him or Kulusevski. It's one of them two coming up with the goods. So I like, if I was Brennan Johnson, like you said earlier, right? The ball wasn't even coming to me. If I'm Brennan Johnson, and you start dropping me, I'd be offended. I would genuinely be offended. I actually think Brennan Johnson and Savinho, both, if Spurs are going to have position and play in tight spaces, you watch Kudus today taking on his men in 1 meter, right? Brennan Johnson needs space. Savinho as well, with City, when they play transition and they play quick, he looked good in tight spaces. So I don't think he's worth 70 million, to be honest. 70 million euros for him, I think it's too much, by the way.
Do you know what it is? If you spend that amount of money on him, there's always that thing of, well, he's going to have to start games. You rarely would spend that kind of money on a backup player, but he's going to have to deliver those numbers. And I think that Spurs, I know that you don't judge everything about a player by his numbers, but there has to be an element of judgment, because you can't be a 70 million pound winger where your job is to create and your job is to score, and you can't be sitting there with 5 GA every season and people saying, yeah, but the drag backs and the step overs and the flicks and the dribbles are brilliant. There has to be something at the end of it. Otherwise, you might as well just go and get St. Maximin, because that's what St. Maximin was. There was all that skill and there was nothing at the end of it. And you get a lot of pretenders online that act like that makes you a better football player. It doesn't. There is much more to the game than that. And Brendan Johnson has got last year a decent output. So I think if Savinio comes in, and there's a good chance that he does, I don't think he's involved at all today is he on the bench? Let me just have a little look. He's not on the bench today. Cherky hasn't started today either, but he's not even on the bench today. So you would expect that means that he's at least contemplating. I know they've said that he's injured, haven't they? But I don't think any Man City.
He's
fans
injured. He's actually injured. He actually shared the picture and it's confirmed that he's actually injured.
What was it a
I thought he
picture
was
of?
in the gym.
I think it's a picture, and people said no.
Yeah,
I think it's something like he's not wearing like he's something like this. Someone said in City Extra report that he's actually injured, something like this.
He's injured until he starts.
Yeah, I never buy that stuff. Yeah, I never buy. There's City fans here saying that he ain't injured. City fans ain't buying that. Look, guys, I want to say big congratulations to the Spurs fans. Thank you all for coming on the match reaction. It means a great deal to us. This is going to redirect you to Don Hassam's channel, which is great. I will be live again after Wolverhampton Wanderers and Man City finish their game. So be back with us here on the Football Terrace for that. But Deji, Kate, Jacob, Quest, and Mo, thank you all very, very much indeed. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.